Alrighty, hey guys, looks like we're up and running. I'm Chris with the Good Old Gamer, and welcome to the AMD Zen 3 reveal event. And today I'm joined by my good friend Celso from the Coreteks channel. Welcome, Celso.
Hello.
Alrighty, so Celso had himself a pretty eventful day yesterday, so he might be a little lower energy. So we're gonna have to spruce him into action here today. But yeah, we were just talking about everything going on, talking about Zen 3, RDNA 2, and I totally agree with you on the fact that this looks like this is going to be a huge month for AMD. I mean, Zen 3, how can they really screw this up? I can't see it.
Yeah. And we were just talking about it. And one thing that, I mean, I'm sure there are reasons why they don't do this, but one thing they should do or try and do is bundle the CPU and GPU in some way. So when you're buying a CPU, you get a discount on the GPU or vice versa.
I mean, that makes sense. Maybe even if it's just like $50 off or something, off like maybe a 500, comes out to 550 for both, knock 50, like 10% off or something. Yeah, that'd be
I remember they tried they had a bundle with the first Zen launch, which was, I think, with FreeSync monitors or something. There were like 3 bundles you could choose from. Do you remember that? Or was it Vega?
I believe it was Vega. Yeah, they had all kinds of bundles pushing Vega, which they stopped because all the Vegas sold out. And they were like, well, we don't need to worry about that. I do remember that happening. But yeah, no, I seriously think, Zen 3, which we're obviously going to be finding out about officially here today, I think we all have a pretty good idea of where this is going to land. My expectation is between 15 and 25%, depending on the benchmark, directly compared to Zen 2. What do you think?
I don't know. I wonder if they're going to hit the mythical 5 gigahertz. I think it's going to be all about clock speeds. I mean, you're going to get an IPC bump from the new unified cache, I imagine. But I think they're going to be talking about single-threaded performance.
Yeah, from those leaked benchmarks, it looks like single thread is really where they got the bump. That's like where the 25% came into play. And then during multi-thread, it was closer to like 15. But yeah, I really think that, I mean, obviously that's where they need to win because that's going to be the key to beating Intel and kicking them completely out of the market. So I agree. I think that's going to be the heavy focus here today. All right.
What do you think on core counts? Do you think we're going to see any changes there?
I don't think so. I don't think this time around because even if they go to, I'm pretty sure this is going to be 7 nanometer plus. I think we all kind of agree on that one. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. 7 nanometer plus, or do you think they're going to cheap out and go with 7NP again? But I'm pretty sure it's going to be 7N plus because why not? This is their premium product. The graphics cards, I think they might hold back on. But still, I mean, it's not that big of a difference. You said it's 20% better on transistor density. So it's better, but not like a huge jump. So I don't think without a massive transistor density increase or decrease, however you want to phrase it, I don't think it makes sense for them to jump cores up again this time around.
Someone is saying they hope the 5900X is under $400. I doubt it.
5900X, assuming that's the 12 core, if they keep the same naming scheme. No, Paul and I on the podcast, which, by the way, shameless plug, if you guys didn't know, we started the Techonomics podcast. We did that earlier this week. Check that out. But I'm pretty sure prices are going to go up on the more premium products because what AMD typically does is they'll still have their Zen 2 stock, their current CPUs that they still have. They'll lower the prices on those, so maybe the 3900X, that might be $399 or lower. And then they'll come out with the new stuff at higher price points. That's my guess, but I can't see them jumping up too high without having something to answer. What do you think?
Yeah, I think like $50 of last gen. So you'd see the 12 core at 450, and then they'd have like you were saying, they'd have the 3900X. At a discount, which is what they did for Threadripper.
Right. Yeah. So That's pretty much exactly what Paul said. He's like, look at what they did with Threadripper. I just remember like the 2700Xs, those just plummeted in price. It's not going to get that low this time, I think, because Zen 2 is still basically on par with everything that Intel has. So I don't see them really undercutting themselves that much, but it will be significantly less than what Intel is offering and a good bit less than obviously Zen 3. So personally, I think 5900X is probably going to be $599, $600, so about $100 price bump. And then on the cheaper chips, I think about $50. But if they keep pricing the same, I think that that's best case scenario, and that's really going to put the screws to Intel.
Yeah. If I were AMD, what I would do, by the way, someone was asking if English is my my first language. It's not, it's Portuguese. What was I saying? If I were AMD, I'd probably do the same that Intel did. I'd have the same prices as last gen, but then have a bit more segmentation at the very high end. So the R9s would have a few more SKUs, so they can push prices there. Because whoever's buying the 5900X is not doing it for the core count, because you could just get the 3900X instead. So they're doing it for the gaming performance, basically, or bragging rights or something like that. So they might as well have, a 3920X or something like that, and then have the 5900X at the same price. So that was $499. Yeah. And then have a 451, a 601, all the way up to the 16 core. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I agree. In the podcast, my prediction is I think the 16 core will go up to $1,000. I know nobody wants to hear that because it's a pretty big price hike, but you have to remember top tier consumer CPUs used to live at the $1,000 price point. It's just where they were. The Pentium Extreme Edition, Athlon 64 FXs, they were all $1,000. And then it would make sense for them to come out with a 14 core and a 10 core to help with that segmentation, like you were saying, and then just kind of fill the gaps. And then if you want the 3950X, if you need the cores over the clock speeds in the IPC, they'll have an option to do that. You can just buy the 3950X, and that'll be probably discounted a bit. But hey, we got our first super chat. This is from Time Bear. If the 5600X crushes the 10700K, is $300 a problem? That's going to be up to everybody's opinion there. That's going to be up to each and every one of you to decide. I mean, if it's 10 to 20% faster and it costs a little bit more money, to me, that makes sense. But now, like if Celso's right and they kind of keep things where they are and maybe just segment the high end, so keeping like the 600s, so 5600, maybe even the 5700s on down at the same prices, I think it's going to be a bloodbath.
I think the only thing Intel can do is bring the Extreme Editions down to consumer level prices. The problem there is the platform, because you have to invest in a brand new platform, and it's really expensive. There's motherboards and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only way they could compete. Bring the XC CPUs down to 300 to 400.
I mean, that's what AMD had to do. I mean, look how cheap the 9950, the FX chip, whatever it was, started off at $1,000 and then it was like 200. I mean, if you don't have performance, you have to do it by dollars. I mean, it's just the way it goes. All right.
I still wouldn't buy it though.
Oh no, absolutely not. But like I said in one video, I'm like, I would take it if they gave it to me for free, but I still wouldn't use it. I'd use it as a paperweight or sell it or something. But yeah, no, there's no way I would actually be using an Intel chip, especially after Zen 3 here. We got one here. So 5800X or 5900X for gaming. Personally, I think the 8 cores are going to be more than enough. That's what I'm going to be getting myself. I want a Zen 3 8 core. It's going to have higher IPC and higher clocks than the consoles. The only thing that was kind of leaning me more towards a 3900X was the fact that they're going to be using heavy compression on the next gen consoles. But now that we have the direct IO thing coming to GPUs, I don't think that that's going to matter anymore. So what do you think? 12 core or 8 core for gaming going forward?
It's hard to say because what are you going to be playing at? If you're going to play at 4K, I'm not sure if the IPC difference is really going to give you much more performance. So you might as well just go with more cores from last gen and invest the difference into a better monitor, a 4K monitor.
Right.
If you're doing 1440p and you play a lot of competitive shooters, then probably the 8 core, the 58, man, this is so confusing, these names.
Oh,
the
yeah.
5800X would probably be my choice, because usually that one clocks a bit higher to begin with, and 8 cores is plenty.
Yeah, I agree. I mean that's kind of where we're at right now. We don't know what the performance is going to be, but yeah, if you can get a cheap 3900X, that'll cut you, or either one would probably be good overall. But yeah, you're right. For the higher IPC, for those higher frame rates, definitely look at the Zen 3s. All right, so we got Leor Floor. Thank you for the 99.99 euros. I appreciate it. There's no question attached to that one. Got some people just saying, hey, thank you all for joining. I mean, let's just get that out of the way. You guys are awesome. This is going to be really interesting, and I'm glad you guys are here. Let's see.
Okay, someone said hi from Germany.
Yep.
So I want to know which countries they have here.
Yeah, all right.
Ireland.
Yeah, spam out your countries in the chat box. This way we can see where we're at. I have a very high amount of viewership from the Netherlands. You guys are pretty awesome over there. I got to go visit. That's what I need to do.
The Dutch are awesome.
Yeah, Switzerland is completely open. I said that in the podcast too. I'm like, I got to go visit. We got Singapore, Greece, Netherlands, a lot of Finland, USA. Okay, they're coming in like really fast now. Got USA, Dubai, California. Wow. You guys are really early over there. Thanks for getting up for this. I'm pretty sure you'd watch AMD's thing anyway. Norway. I'd rather watch you two than Paul from NAF. Well, I appreciate that. Paul's a good buddy of mine, and he's doing just fine over there. He started earlier than me, so he stole all of the early viewers. Netherlands. Let's see. USA, Croatia. 2 Croatias. Another Germany, USA, Hungary. All right, you guys are like all over the place. I figured it was going to be Panama, France, Ukraine, Morocco.
There's someone here from Trinidad.
I missed that one. Saudi Arabia, Sweden, Dubai. Ooh, Dubai would be really nice. We get a lot of Dubai people on here. I'm definitely going to have to go visit you guys. Hong Kong, North Korea, Palestine.
Oh, nice.
Hell. Hey, man, glad to know they get reception all over, even into the afterlife. I'm a big fan of that. Romania. All right, cool. All righty, guys. So, yeah, that was just kind of a quick edification. Just want to see where you guys are all from. You guys are from everywhere, so thank you. All right, so yeah, somebody's like, you're stalling for time. It's like a little bit. I mean, we can keep rehashing everything.
I'm generally curious. There's someone here who says he's from the Christmas Island. Yeah, right.
Well, I don't know. There's Christmas islands everywhere. Those Christmas shops, that are open all year round. They're kind of everywhere. Planet Mars, Portugal. Now we're getting the fun ones. All right.
Yeah, Skellige as a Witcher 3 fan.
Yeah, I saw Geralt and Skellige. I was like, yep, there we go. Okay, so this is a little off topic because Zen 3, as impressive as it's going to be, I think we all kind of are expecting it. But let's talk about Intel. And this is going to be I'm going to ask it now, and then we'll ask it after we know exactly what we're getting into. But is there anything that Intel can do other than like just lowering prices like you suggested? But do you honestly think that they're going to be able to catch up at this point, especially if Zen 4 is as big as we're expecting and Zen 5 thereafter?
Well, let's wait and see what AMD actually does. But I don't know. I think Intel will just focus on other things, laptops. That's been the kind of
their focus lately.
Yeah. And that's what they've been talking about for the last couple of years. I don't, because to us it might sound a bit strange, but it doesn't make that much sense to be investing a ton in the desktop market. I mean, AMD does it because it's kind of a byproduct of the server market, so
Right.
they have the chiplet strategy. But for Intel, they already have the partnership with OEMs, and they have the servers, which are like 5 to 10 year contracts. They now just got a contract with the US because of that whole thing of having chips made in the US. Intel is one of the few companies, one of the two companies that still has them, so they're going to be fine from a business perspective. For us, I mean, yeah, it's a bit sad not having an alternative to AMD, but hopefully they'll be able to get the 10 nanometer working, or 7 nanometer at least, and we'll see something there. I'm not sure what they could do to disrupt AMD at this point, to be honest.
Yeah, my first thought was, we know that they're working on 3D stacking. We know that they actually have functioning silicon with 3D stacking. And I was like, well, if they can get their 7 nanometer up and running in a reasonable time frame, which now we know they are not, if they could do that and they could do 3D stacking, I thought that they'd have a chance. But I think just the fact that we now know that 7 nanometer from them is being pushed back basically another year, and it'll probably get pushed back another year thereafter. I don't think that they'll be able to catch up. But the big thing is even the laptop market is eventually going to dry up for them. And I honestly eventually see them just going, well, we're not making a whole lot of money on CPU. So then they just start cutting back on, R&D and everything else. And like you, I think as a company, they'll be fine. But I think they're going to be something completely different 10 or 20 years from now. And, their networking chips are really good. So I don't see them ever stop producing networking cards and SSDs and all that kind of stuff. I think they'll stick with that. But yeah, in terms of like PC gaming, even on laptops, I just don't think that Intel's going to be able to compete with a Zen 3 RDNA 2 APU. I just don't see that happening.
No. Someone's asking, Artifire is asking if Sapphire Rapids is going to be chiplets. I think, was it Jim that had an article on that? I'm not sure, like some leaks from Intel. I was away and I didn't read it. But
I was going to say,
yeah,
I missed that one too, so I'm not sure.
Usually what happens with these companies is they go up. Like what that means is if they're disrupted by a competitor, they're like, okay, let's see what our customers want, and their customers are going to say, we want the same thing, but we want more of it. So
right.
They're going to make the same Xeons and the same stuff, FPGAs and stuff they've been doing to serve those specific customers. And that might work for a couple of years, but the problem is the industry is moving in completely different directions. First of all, they should have moved to TSMC like 2 years ago and stop messing around with their own processes.
Well, I don't think that's a real option for them in terms of the volume. I don't think even if they bought out all of TSMC, I don't think it would even come close to being what they would need, honestly.
Yeah, but they would only need to do the top SKUs, your 9900K and 10900K, that sort of thing, and then do the other ones themselves, something like that. And then the other thing I was going to say was that the market will likely start shifting towards ARM when Apple releases the ARM stuff, and that's going to be the real problem there.
Yeah, I agree. Once NVIDIA was thinking about buying ARM, and after they came up with that deal, I did a few videos, and yeah, that's definitely going to be the next battle. It's going to be ARM versus x86. But I think it's mostly due to the fact that Intel has lost its luster because obviously AMD kicked them in the teeth. So x86 as a whole, which is basically synonymous with Intel, like we know that it's not, but for the vast majority of people, they think x86, they think Intel. It's just the way that's always gone for the past like 30 years or so. And yeah, I guess the blood is in the water essentially on x86 for the first time in my lifetime.
They need better management, first and foremost, because you look at a company like Microsoft, Microsoft stagnated for a long while, and you thought, where's this company going to go? And then that guy who's ahead of them right now, I can't remember his name, Satya Nadella or something like that.
Yeah.
He completely changed the company around. Not that they're doing great products, but he opened up a lot of stuff, and they're a completely different Microsoft. Intel needs leadership like that, because I could totally see them, ARM just slowly taking market share away from them, and them doing nothing, just continue to focusing on x86, and then just becoming irrelevant. So they need a leader who can just be pragmatic and be like, yeah, we need to do something about this.
Right. Here's the situation. This is what we can do. This is what we need to do. And actually build a roadmap to get from point A to point B instead of just go and throw more money at it, because eventually they will run out of money. No company has limitless pockets. Even governments are figuring that out now.
And x86 shouldn't be, a dogma. Like, one of the things that Lisa Su said when she joined AMD, she said, we're not married to x86. She's open to doing anything that's good for the company. That's the sort of leadership that Intel needs. I think they're too attached to their own dogmas, the way they've been doing things forever.
Yeah, so more flexibility, I guess you could say, instead of being very rigid on things. All right, so I got a question here about prices. I don't think that they need to raise prices. Well, they don't need to, no, but will they? It's not our call. They need only to not make 5700 this way, that they sell the 5700X at $399. I like the 3700X. They have to have a 65 watt TDP variant. That's what I'm interested in. So even if they call it 5800 non-X, that's fine. But yeah, they can't all be 95 watt and 5900 XT at $499 without discounts down the line. Yeah, I mean, they can do whatever they want. See, that's the real crux here. Even with Zen 2, that just brought them up to par, basically, with Intel. So they were still playing in Intel's playground. That's why this is going to be so huge, because they're no longer playing on Intel's terms. AMD is now going to be market leader in terms of performance across the board. So they can literally do whatever they want. That's why this is important. If prices don't go up, that is a great indication of where AMD wants to be in the future. They really want to hammer home that these are great products and want to get them in your systems. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that one seems rather straightforward to me. All right, so we're almost there. Only about 8 minutes or so. Interesting point about the 65 watts. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, if I can get something that's like 95% the performance and it runs at lower power, I would typically go that route. It's not for everybody. I don't really do overclocking or anything like that. But, sometimes I like to build really small machines. And if you have lower TDP parts, you can use them. Higher TDP parts, it gets a little more annoying.
Yeah, you compare your 65 watt AMD Ryzen with RTX 3090.
Yeah. Yeah, need every last little bit of power. My 800 watt power supply, barely enough for that 3090. There was actually a good question. It was up a little ways. It was Celso, do you think that Ampere is a farce? I saw that one before.
A farce? In what sense?
I
think it's a really strange launch from NVIDIA, but you have to remember that NVIDIA is they have their hands tied a bit because of the whole stock market, stock valuation. They need to keep that valuation up if they want to transition the company to something a bit more encompassing. They bought the Mellanox company, and now they're looking at ARM. Clearly, they know that they can't rely on GPUs forever, so they want to grow, and for that to happen, they need to have a strong market confidence on them, and so they need to keep margins up. So when you go to 7 nanometers or 7 nanometer plus, you need to have a really good reason to do that. AMD has Microsoft and Sony to back them up, so there's always going to be byproducts from their R&D into building those things, but those things are really expensive. You're looking at $1 billion for each of those devices, all of the masks and the work that has to go into it. So Nvidia has figured out a way to stay a node behind and still have really competitive products. Yeah, they're not on the latest technology, and they're not, perhaps because of that, they're not that exciting to us. But from a business standpoint, it's pretty clever, especially if they can maintain the lead and still stay a node behind, like they've been doing. That's really good for their margins. So it's hard to say if this is going to backfire. We're also going to be streaming the GPU event in a few weeks.
Yeah,
it's hard to say if it will backfire, but from my perspective, it's not as bad as people seem to think from a company strategy standpoint.
No, I mean, overall, I agree. I mean, like we said during the other live stream, obviously this allows them to keep prices lower than they normally would be. There's a lot of positives here, but yeah, it also leaves open that big window for AMD to just be like, okay, thanks for the opportunity. Because if they fully take advantage, like you got that die shot up the other day, that's big, 536 millimeters squared. AMD hasn't produced a GPU that big ever, I don't believe. Not a consumer grade one anyway. So yeah, they definitely have the opportunity to take that market though, because if they were thinking 30% faster than the 2080 Ti, which should have always been the target for a high-end graphics card at the least, that's within a stone's throw of the 3090. So yeah, they could very easily take both CPU and GPU. Like obviously we're expecting CPU here in about 3 minutes, but they're in a position that I honestly didn't see AMD being in at this point in time. I didn't think they could get there.
Bookon90 is asking if this is my real voice. Yeah, this is my real voice.
It's after he translates from Portuguese to English, though. If it came out in Portuguese, it would sound totally different.
Yeah, it's like 2 octaves above in Portuguese.
Yeah, his English is just lower. All right, so we got T-minus 3 minutes, 500 millimeters square plus yet 2080 Ti plus 15%. Yeah, so you're still holding to that one? I mean, we'll probably talk more about that on the RDNA 2 live stream, but or do you think it's going to be faster than that now?
I haven't heard anything different than that still, and I've been hearing that for a long time, but I've also been arguing with the people that give me this information that there's got to be something else that they're hiding from everyone, because it's just weird to see a die that large and then you get 15% over the 2080 Ti on 7nm plus. So that's EUV. By the way, the reason I say 7nm plus is because the memory, I showed this in a video a while ago, the memory that's used in the consoles, at least on the Xbox, for cache is from Synopsys. And if you go to the Synopsys website and you look up the reference for that memory, you'll see that it's only available on 7nm plus. And after I published that in a video when I was talking about the PS5, Synopsys actually took that down from the website. So it seems clear to me that what AMD is doing is that they're hiding what the process is. They call it enhanced or something like that,
right?
So that their competitors don't know exactly what they're doing. But it would make a lot of sense to have if you're having the consoles on that process node, you can negotiate with TSMC and also make your GPUs on that process node. So I'm pretty sure the 6000 series, man, so confusing. The 6000 series, the 6000 series GPUs will be on EUV.
All right. Well, like I said, I personally am kind of up in the air with that. Personally, I think 7NP would make a lot more sense because they don't need the extra node density to compete against 8 nanometer. Obviously, they didn't know that when they built the thing, but this way they could use all the 7N plus for Zen 3, all the wafers that they get, and then use all the 7NP that they have available for Radeon. So I think that would help with supplies issues or potential supply issues. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Looks like I'm getting the premiere will begin shortly on the video here. I'm going to switch over to the second monitor so you guys can see. We are just waiting. Here, let me get rid of my video. So
by the way, guys, we're going to be talking over the live stream, so that might be a bit annoying, and we'll try and keep it to a minimum, but that's the whole point of us being here, to kind of have our comments over what's happening.
Yeah, good call. I forgot to bring that up. So yeah, if you guys want to listen to Lisa over us, then I guess you could try lowering the voice, but we'll try not to talk over important stuff, but things that were like, this isn't that important. We want to reiterate the important bits that they were talking about. So yeah, we'll probably talk over those. Looks like AMD is a little bit behind on their premiere here.
Lisa Sue is looking for her leather jacket.
Well, she's got to find the right one. You got to have the right leather jacket. You come out with the wrong one. She needs a red leather jacket. That's what she should do.
Do you think this is going to be live streamed from her kitchen with loads of spatulas on?
It should be from her garage. One up, Jensen, like one giant garage that she's got. All right, real quick, we got ourselves a 5 spot on the super chat from Fargo. What will you be able to buy first, Ryzen 5000 or an NVIDIA 3080? Yeah, that's a good point. I'm pretty sure you'll probably have a better shot at a Ryzen. What do you think?
Yeah, probably. I mean, Jensen is already giving people a heads up. Yeah, we're probably not going to have GPUs for a while until next year. So.
All right, that's pretty loud. Let me mute that until we get there.
Oh, has it started?
It's got the countdown going. I'll unmute it once we get in there. But yeah, that was pretty loud. Maybe I should lower the volume a little bit too. All right.
How's the sound for you guys?
Oh, it started. Refresh the page. All right, let's refresh the page. It's still counting down, guys. Maybe, I don't know, for some reason, maybe mine's delayed a little bit. 1 minute. If we're a minute behind everybody else, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Mine's one minute ago as well.
Peter Jansen, red leather jacket, isn't that too prostitute-like? Yeah, but it's also Michael Jackson-like, and it's Halloween's coming up. You got Thriller. I think that would work out just fine.
Do you think Lisa Sue's gonna come on stage riding one of those AMD bikes?
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, a red AMD bike with the red leather jacket. Yeah, that. Maybe jump over some people dressed like Jensen with their black leather jackets. How many people can she jump over? I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
or actually, what would be really funny is a bunch of 3080 boxes that she scalped, like a whole dump truck load of 3080s. All right, let's get this unmuted, and we're ready to go, peeps. Maybe. The good old disclaimers.
Something.
Yeah, I'm not even going to read that, guys. It doesn't matter.
We started ZEN from scratch, starting with a clean sheet of paper.
ZEN turned out to be a grounds-up design, which doesn't come along very often.
In the life of an engineer, you get to build something this significant once, twice, if you're lucky, 3 times in your lifetime. AMD enables the engineers to go off and innovate and to bring to market what it is that they dream about.
I'm extremely pleased to show you for the first time the name of our new CPU. Now it's time for you to see Ryzen in action. We wanted to disrupt the PC market. We wanted to bring innovation, choice, and performance to as many people as possible. In high-performance PCs, it was about delivering more performance at every single price point.
The Ryzen Threadripper acknowledges that there are people who want to create and game on the same PC and need the scalability and need the performance to do that. And that's what's really exciting about the Threadripper chip.
It was our commitment to our customers that we would deliver to the roadmap that we set out, and momentum is now on our side.
The anticipation around 3rd Gen Ryzen is really impressive.
Lots of
Meet the
patting on
world's
their
first
backs.
16-core
Yeah, but
gaming
they've earned it on
processor.
this one.
Now,
They're about
in
to take the
2018,
CPU lead.
3rd Gen Ryzen is it.
What we did in ZEN was push well beyond what we thought we could do. It makes me so proud to be able to look back and say that I was part of that.
Our mission with Ryzen has always been clear. It's about making the right bets 3 to 5 years in advance and making sure that they come to fruition. Our goal is to give you the best. Welcome, everyone. Big welcome to all of you, and thank you all for joining us today. I've been looking forward to this moment all year, and I know many of you have too. It's been a challenging year for everyone as we've navigated the COVID-19 pandemic globally. But one thing we've learned is just how important high-performance computing technologies really are.
This looks
From
pre-recorded.
work to school,
It is. It's not.
to gaming,
It's not a live
to
event.
entertainment, the PC is now the computing platform of choice in 2020. And I'm really excited to show you today what we have been working on for the next-gen PC platforms, and especially for all of you gamers. Now, it's already been an incredible year for gamers. There's so much excitement
kitchen
around
equals
the next-gen
disappointment.
consoles. We are so proud to power the new Sony PlayStation 5 with a high-performance custom chip featuring our AMD Ryzen CPU and AMD Radeon GPU technology. And we are equally proud that custom AMD
I saw there
processors
was,
also power the new Microsoft
a
Xbox
teardown
Series
of the
X
PS5. I
and
haven't
Series
watched
S
that yet.
consoles. Again, featuring
Yeah,
our
I saw some
high-performance
of it,
Ryzen
but
and Radeon
308 millimeter
technologies.
squared on the
These
APU
consoles
is
are
pretty
bringing
impressive.
just incredible technology to gamers all over the world, and are really a result of just deep engineering partnerships over many, many years with both Sony and Microsoft. Now, gaming is at the heart of so much of what we do at AMD. Whether you're talking about PCs or consoles
They're
or
saying we're
cloud
too loud. I'll
gaming
turn down
and
my
mobile.
mic a bit.
AMD loves
And turn you
gaming, and
down.
we like to say gaming begins with AMD. So today, we're going to talk specifically about our next-gen PC gaming platform. So let's talk a little bit about Ryzen. Now, you guys know we brought the first generation of Ryzen to market in 2017. And we actually had one goal. It was to build the best PC desktop processor possible. Now, we knew we wouldn't get there in one step, but with each generation of Ryzen, it's gotten better. And we focused on how do we deliver more performance? How do we deliver the best features? And how do we give more capabilities to all of you PC enthusiasts so that you can do more than you ever thought with your desktop or in your notebook? And we've made great, great progress. We started with Ryzen in desktops, and then we introduced Ryzen Threadripper in high-end desktops. And now, actually, Ryzen is in many amazing notebook systems with our Ryzen 4000 series. I think it's safe to say that AMD loves the PC, and I think also it's safe to say that PC users love Ryzen. So we really appreciate that. Now look, let's just focus on the desktop for a few minutes. The progress we have made over the last few years has been really amazing. If you look at the market before Ryzen, the desktop PC was on sort of an incremental performance slope
Notice she's not even talking
for the
about
last
Intel
many
anymore.
years. Now, over the past 3 years, we've significantly changed that trajectory and really completely reset expectations as we've gone from first-gen Ryzen to second-gen, now to third-gen Ryzen. We were the first to launch a 7-nanometer desktop processor, and today, third-gen Ryzen leads in so many areas. We're the highest in multi-threaded performance. We are the best in terms of power efficiency, and third-gen Ryzen is an absolutely great gaming processor. But as you know, we're really ambitious. So our work with Ryzen is never done. Our engineers have been on this maniacal focus of what can we do more? What can we do better?
Maniacs.
So today, we're here to talk about our brand new CPU core. You've all been
no
waiting
Michael
for
Jackson
it.
leather
It's all
jacket.
about Zen
It's a
3.
missed opportunity.
And with Zen 3, we focused again on bringing the best to the PC market. I'm so proud of what we've accomplished. Zen 3 increases our lead in overall performance. It increases our lead in power efficiency. And also now, it delivers the best single-threaded performance and gaming performance as well. We've made massive changes in the core architecture, and I'm sure all of you want to know what's inside Zen 3. So let me hand it over to AMD CTO Mark Papermaster to give you all the details. Mark?
Well, thank you, Lisa. I couldn't be more excited than to share a little bit more about Zen 3 and our progression to get here. It's been quite a journey. We set a course over 5 years ago to design a family of high-performance x86 CPUs. Our goal, very simply, outright leadership. We set up the team so that development of multiple processor generations could be done in parallel, with designers leapfrogging from one generation to another. This has resulted in consistent delivery to the market as promised. I could not be more proud than to help unveil our third generation of Zen Core debuting in Ryzen desktops this fall. It is a beast in performance and will deliver absolute leadership in the x86 market. Zen brought us back into high performance with a 52% improvement in instruction per clock in a single generation. It built a strong base for us to build upon as we developed the Zen family. Last year, Zen 2 brought double-digit % increase in instruction per clock and debuted 7 nanometer in chiplet technology. That 7 nanometer efficiency enabled leadership, multi-core performance, and core density. The innovative chiplet implementation allowed us ease of manufacturing with the small 7 nanometer die and scalability to leadership core counts. And now Zen 3. Wow, what a great job by the design team to improve every aspect of the CPU, delivering leadership performance in that same 7 nanometer node.
7NP.
Higher frequency, higher instruction per clock, with design improvements across all of the CPU components, and lower latency on top of that. You look at some of the key elements. There's a new layout of our processor that brings all the cores onto a unified 8-core complex, and that accelerates core-to-core communication. That's especially helpful for gaming workloads. That consolidation actually allows every core to directly access the 32 megabytes of L3 cache, and that dramatically accelerates workloads that are latency sensitive, like gaming. And finally, significant changes throughout the Zen 3 architecture, generating a 19% instruction per clock uplift. That's on top of the significant gains that we had just in the mid of last year with Zen 2. Altogether, Zen 3 is our most significant architectural update yet across the Zen family. We made the Zen 3 floating point and integer execution units wider, more flexible, and allows us to deliver more execution capability to the user at a lower latency. We've increased the number of loads and stores that we can do versus Zen 2, helping us feed those wider execution capabilities of Zen 3. We've added more branch prediction bandwidth. It allows Zen 3 to tackle back-to-back predictions much more quickly, reducing the delays. We call it zero bubble. These innovations keep Zen 3 ahead of the industry norm on generational improvements and position Zen 3-based Ryzen to be a clear desktop performance leader. Microprocessor performance engineering never has one single bullet. It takes focused microprocessor engineering. It's a broad set of improvements that are needed to make a great architecture. It takes innovation on all of the key levers. Zen 3 is a total front-to-back redesign. The microarchitecture had laser focus on performance on every element. End-to-end improvements, caching, load store, our execution units, our prefetching, our dispatch, our decode. Zen 2, in fact, had been organized with 2 4-core cache complexes, and it was tightly integrated. That was a very good design, but what we found is that we brought that together into that single unified cache core complex, that we brought that direct access to 32 megabytes of L3 cache rather than the 16 megabytes that we have with Zen 2. That direct access to a cache pool of this size is very significant for gaming. They tend to make frequent use, of course, of the memory subsystem, and in fact, many games have a dominant thread. And that makes especially heavy use of the cache, and that thread now sees effectively twice the L3 cache in Zen 3. So every core can now communicate directly to the cache without traversing across the die, and that reduces latency. And it stays synchronized for applications using AI, audio, physics, and more. You can see that we continue our relentless commitment to energy efficiency with every generation. We're always honing our design methodologies to focus on performance per watt,
so is that 40%?
Even as we make the processors faster for gamers. Zen 3 is no different, delivering up to 24% improvement in power efficiency versus the prior generation.
And 20%
that's double-digit performance per watt uplift in the same process node. And that's on top of all the architectural changes that we drove in to drive up the performance. Our commitment to energy efficiency across time has put us in the driver's seat. Today, we're more than 2.8x more efficient than competing high-end desktop processors. And that's only a strengthening of the leadership that we demonstrated during the prior Zen 2 era. We will not let up going forward. We're focused on execution. Zen 3 is shipping as promised, and the 5-nanometer Zen 4 on track in design. The AMD team is hitting on all cylinders, and there's no shortage of innovations for the next generation of Zen processors to keep AMD in the forefront and deliver the best compute experience for our customers. Thank you. And let me welcome back Lisa to now show off our Zen 3 and new Ryzen processors.
Yeah, poor 10900K. It's going to get crapped on all
Thank you, Mark. That was great. I'm so proud of what the team has accomplished with Zen 3. We really focused on what is most important for gamers and enthusiasts. And at 19% IPC increase, it's our largest increase generation over generation since we launched the Zen family. So now let's see Zen 3 in action.
Here we go.
I'm so proud to show you for the very first time the AMD Ryzen 5000 series for high-performance PCs, the world's first Zen 3 powered CPU. This is the AMD Ryzen 9 5900X. 12 cores, 24 threads, and a boost up to 4.8 gigahertz. It's a very special product, the ultimate enthusiast processor.
Yeah, 4.8.
Compared to the 3900 XT, the 5900X has 19% higher IPC, higher clock speeds, and all of the Zen 3 core improvements that Mark talked about, all while remaining at 105 watts. This makes Ryzen 5900X a big upgrade from 3rd gen Ryzen all around, but especially in gaming. Now let me turn it over to Robert Halleck to show you the 5900X in action.
Thanks, Lisa. Hey everyone, let me give you a sense of just how much faster the 5900X is compared to our current best, the 3900 XT. To do that, we're going to use Shadow of the Tomb Raider, a game I personally love, and a game reviewers often look at to judge CPU performance. We're going to run the built-in benchmark here at 1080p using the high image quality preset on two otherwise identical systems. You can see a whopping 28% increase just by moving from the 39XT to the 5900X in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And as you will soon see, the performance from the 5900X is faster than the competing processors as well.
What GPU are they using?
Now, as any enthusiast knows, 28% from a processor change is a massive upgrade. But that's what AMD customers, like me, can look forward to. This truly demonstrates the gaming strength for Zen 3 when you combine the historic IPC uplift, unified cores, and unified cache pools. Now, as we zoom out to look at a wider set of games, you can see that the 28% uplift in Shadow of the Tomb Raider is joined by many titles with significant double-digit performance improvements. The gains are even bigger in titles like CSGO and League of Legends, where the highest possible frame rate is practically the #1 priority to be competitive. Overall, gamers upgrading from the Ryzen 3000 series to the Ryzen 5000 series can expect an average performance improvement of 26% at 1080p. Again, this is just a monumental performance jump for an in-socket upgrade in the same motherboard, and a true testament for how good Zen 3 is in gaming. Now, as many know, strong gaming performance relies on strong single-core performance. That's exactly what Zen 3 has. And I want to show you using Cinebench R20 single-thread. There are many ways to assess single-thread performance, but Cinebench is a fast and easy tool that you can run at home. And it's one of the 25 workloads that we used to calculate the 19% improvement for Zen 3's instructions per cycle.
Yeah, eSport King,
as you can see,
guys.
The 5900X is the first desktop processor to ever break a 600 score. And we don't break it by a little, we break it by a lot with a score of 631. We at AMD heard you loud and clear as you challenged us to continue investing in single-core performance, and the results speak for themselves. The combination of IPC, frequency, cores, and cache give AMD the fastest cores in the desktop market and give you the best possible gaming performance. So let's take that landmark core performance into a head-to-head battle. Across the same set of games you just saw, the AMD Ryzen 9 5900X is a clear winner at 1080p. As I promised you, AMD wins in Shadow of the Tomb Raider by +6 and is joined by many other games popular with reviewers and users like you. League of Legends and CSGO are once again standout victories for the Ryzen 9 5900X. So that was a lot of data very quickly. Let's take a step back. Let's recap. We saw an average uplift of 26% for Ryzen customers upgrading from the 3000 series to the 5000 series. You just watched AMD deliver the highest single-core performance in the entire desktop PC market. And you just saw AMD clearly offer the best performance of any gaming processor on the market. I will put it plainly. We know that you're going to wait for benchmarks, but customers who buy processors purely for their gaming performance will absolutely want a Ryzen 9 5900X for the best possible PC gaming experience. Now let's bring Lisa back up to give you more details on these awesome gaming processors.
Thanks, Robert. That was fantastic. I hope you're all now convinced that the Ryzen 9 5900X is the best gaming processor in the world. Now let's look at the stack. In the 5000 series, we have a great choice for every gamer or PC enthusiast. In addition to the 5900X, we have the 5800X, an 8-core, 16-thread processor with boost frequencies up to 4.7 gigahertz at 105 watts.
Not yet.
And we also have the 5600X, a 6-core, 12-thread CPU with boost frequencies up to 4.6 gigahertz at 65 watts.
The 800X is 105 watts.
Now let's talk about price and availability. The 6-core 5600X is $299. The 8-core 5800X is $449, and the amazing 5900X, combining the leadership performance and power efficiency of Zen 3 in a 12-core 7-nanometer design, is priced at $549. And all of these will be available globally on November 5th. We're really proud of the 5000 series, but you know we're not done. We love our enthusiasts, and there's one more processor in our stack, which is the ultimate processor for gaming and content creation. For those of you who want the very best processor in a desktop PC, we have the 16-core Ryzen 9 5950X. The 5950X is simply an amazing CPU. 16 cores, 32 threads, and our fastest processor with boost frequencies up to 4.9 gigahertz. The 5950X breaks the Cinebench R20 single-threaded record that Robert set just a few minutes ago with a score of 640. It is truly the best in class in every dimension. Best gaming performance meets best processor for content creation, and all of this still at 105 watts. Now let's take a look at some of the performance. If we look at the generational uplift from the 3950X to the 5950X, we see up to 27% more performance in CAD workloads and 12% more performance in rendering workloads. More impressively, we see up to 29% more gaming performance. And this is really how we bring the best of both worlds together. The best for gamers and the best for creators. And now, if you put 5950X against the top of the stack from the competition, we see that the 5950X provides up to 59% more creative performance in rendering workloads, double-digit wins in video editing and software compiling. And we also win in lightly threaded CAD workloads as well. We're really proud of the fact that we also win in gaming. There's nothing like the 5950X in the world. One processor that delivers the best power efficiency, our highest clock speeds, the highest single-core performance in the industry, and the highest multi-core performance of any gaming processor. And it's priced at $799 and will also be available globally on November 5th.
Stuck with the
I
50.
hope you're now as excited about AMD Ryzen 5000 series as I am. Zen 3 is really amazing, and I'm so happy we could show it to you today. But you guys send me a lot of notes and a lot of tweets, and I know that you're not just excited about Ryzen 5000 series, but there's a tremendous amount of enthusiasm and curiosity about our Radeon lineup as well. So the next few weeks are just an amazing time for us. In addition to introducing our Ryzen 5000 series, we're also going to introduce our next-gen Radeon GPU, and I want to give you a small preview of that today. This is the AMD Radeon RX 6000 series, which we now affectionately call Big Navi, thanks to many of you who nicknamed it for us. It is absolutely gorgeous and by far the most powerful gaming GPU we have ever built. We got a lot of requests from our fans on social, and I heard a whole conversation on The Full Nerd last week about wanting to see Zen 3 and Big Navi in action. So today, I'm going to show you a preview of what you can expect from AMD Ryzen 9 5900X and our Radeon 6000 series. We've been doing a tremendous amount of work optimizing gameplay with Ryzen 5000 and Radeon 6000 series. So let me show you today Borderlands 3, which is a very popular AAA title running at 4K resolution on the Ryzen 5900X and our Radeon 6000 series. Just take a look at that performance.
Benchmarks.
Over 60 frames per second at 4K with beautiful image quality. We are super excited with what we've accomplished with Big Navi. In addition to Borderlands 3, here's a bit more of a performance preview on Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Gears of War 5 at ultra settings in 4K. And again, what you see is tremendous 4K performance across the board. We still have a few weeks until launch, and the team is working really hard on fine-tuning things. But I hope you're as excited as we are about what Ryzen 5000 series and Radeon 6000 series can do together for your next-generation PC. So that brings us to the end. I hope you enjoyed today. It's been so much fun spending time with you. We have a lot more to show you later this month, so join us again on October 28th, where we'll give you the full story of our AMD Radeon RX 6000 series, and make sure you mark your calendar for November 5th to find Ryzen 5000 series on shelf worldwide. Take care and see you soon.
All right, well that's a lot of video content for me.
That was pretty much what we expected.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, let's get back over to here. All righty. So,
I'm going to go to the toilet just for a second. So,
all right, you go for it. Sorry, guys, I'm looking up the benchmarks. In the chat, what did they have for Gears of War at 4K? If you guys can say what numbers that they were showing, I can go ahead and I'm going to match up to Tech Spot from Steve from Hardware Unboxed. I know Borderlands was like 61. Yeah, they had COD, and then they had Gears. All right. Anybody write those numbers down? I probably should have. 73 on 73 for Gears and 80 something for COD. 83. All right. Okay, so I'm looking it up right now. So for Gears, the 3080 came out at 72 on average. So 73. That means they're just a little bit faster on Gears. Let me see. Did they not do Borderlands? I thought they did. Sorry, I know this isn't the most interesting, but I got numbers and I got to look at them. They did not do Borderlands. Let me try Tech Power Up. All right. 3080 review. These guys do tons of games. Borderlands 3. All right. 4K. All right. 3080 got 70. So Borderlands 3, we got 61. So we're matching basically 3080 in Gears, but losing in Borderlands 3 by a pretty good bit there. Let me see what Call of Duty looks like, which they don't have. All right, so that's pretty much just a mixed bag there. That was a pretty big drop, and so I wasn't really prepared for that, but yeah. All right, we can get back to Zen. I mean, what do you guys want to talk about while Celso's in the bathroom? What do you guys got? 3080 competitor, at least from what it looks like, it's going to be super close at the very least. And honestly, I doubt that that's their top SKU. They're probably going to do what NVIDIA did and have this is our flagship, and then they'll probably have a bigger chip on top. That'd be my guess.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Just so you know, in Borderlands 3, losing to the 3080 by 9 FPS, the 3080, according to Tech Power Up, had 70, and they were showing 61, but it wins in Gears 5, 73 to 72, so super close there. And I couldn't find anything on COD specifically, so it's going to be damn close to a 3080 at the very least.
So were you talking about the GPU numbers?
Yeah, the GPU numbers, yeah. I figure since that's kind of where they ended it, and obviously that was the big takeaway there at the end of their thing. Let's start there. So yeah, it's going to be 3080 competitor at the very least. And like I was telling the guys, I bet you this is not their top end SKU. This is probably the XT, like all the stuff you've been seeing. And I'm betting there's going to be one just above it though.
Yeah. So do you have the numbers for Call of Duty and Gears of War?
I have Call of Duty, not Call of Duty. I have Gears of War and Borderlands 3 numbers. I don't know who tested Call of Duty, who did a review on it.
And what were the 3080 ones?
3080 was 70 in Borderlands 3 and 72 in Gears 5.
Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty close.
Yeah. All right.
But I wonder if the CPU makes a difference there, though. Like if you tested the 3080 with the new Ryzen CPU.
It's 4K Ultra. Well. I mean, I wouldn't think so, though.
Yeah.
All right. We got Cyberwolf 755. Thank you for the 50 spot. I'm not sure what DKK is, honestly. But let's see here. We got they did only say Radeon 6000 instead of 6900 on the Borderlands benchmark. So yeah, I doubt it's going to be their top SKU there. I'm sure that they're going to surprise us with one more on top. That's just enough for us to go, okay, it definitely looks like a 3080 competitor, but more than likely they're going to have something a little bit bigger there. And before we get into everything that we just heard, Michael Mooney during the live stream, thank you for the 5 spot. The cores and split area for the cache are just the right size for die stack in the future. So he's thinking the layout is actually very forward thinking for Zen 4 and so on.
That's an interesting observation.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something I'll have to take a look at. But yeah, if it's one, the CCX is all one thing now, it would be easier for them to do that. I would agree. So overall, what's your impressions, my friend? And then let's get back to the Zen stuff, and then we'll go back to video cards. Obviously, they left with that, and us being gamers, that's what I instantly jumped on.
I mean, it's pretty much what we expected. Performance bump to beat Intel, at least by a little bit. They kept the TDP the same, and an extra $50. So pretty much what I expected.
Yeah, it was kind of like in between what we were thinking. I was thinking $100 on the, the 900 series card CPUs. They only did the 50, so they kept themselves restrained, but they did do the $50 on the lower ones. Like we were saying before the stream, not unexpected. They did just take the performance crown away from Intel on everything. Intel will not win anywhere anymore. What I liked was in some instances they showed things were a tie. Like they didn't just pick all the best things. I mean, obviously they probably left out some of the worst looking benchmarks, but they did show in certain areas the 10900 still matched them. But overall, even in gaming, they still had a decent performance lead up to a pretty significant one. So yeah, exactly what I was expecting to see here.
Yeah, some of the CPUs, I'm not sure if there will be. I guess the 5600X, I'm not sure if it's worth the extra $50. You're getting an extra 200 megahertz. I mean, there's the IPC, of course, but it's a sort of budget where those $50 might be better spent elsewhere. But for the 12 core and 16 core, $50 seems pretty fair.
Yeah, absolutely on those two. Even the 3800X going up to $450. I mean, discounted 3900Xs are going to be lower than that. And discounted, 3700Xs are going to be cheaper than the 6-core. So it's kind of like what we were saying before. You're going to have the option if you want more cores with lower IPC and frequency, or less cores with the higher single thread. Now you have those options. So it's not the best that they could have done. If they left prices the same, obviously that would have been fantastic. But yeah, I think they did good, and they still have room to slot in, the 65 watt TDP parts, the 8 cores on down. So I think overall these are going to sell really well.
I wonder why the base clocks are down.
I actually didn't notice that. I was just checking out the boosts. Let me see if I can pull that up.
They seem to be down by 100 megahertz or something. Yeah.
I was going to say, the guys in the chat probably know faster than me.
I wonder if that's something to do with the process, or maybe just a marketing thing. I don't know.
It could be to keep the power under, control at certain points. Let's see. Where are the specs?
Yeah, it's about 100 megahertz, I think, on all of them. On the base clock. And then 200 megahertz on the boost clock. And an increase of 200 megahertz.
Yeah, I'm betting it's just to give them a little bit of extra wiggle room that they need to keep the TDPs where they are. That would be my guess. Overall, I wouldn't expect when all cores are loaded, stock versus stock. It might not run any faster than Zen 2, so you're basically just going to get the IPC uplift, but I can't see it running any slower. Let's see. 3900X had 3.8 base. Yeah, and then the 5900X, yeah, so 100 megahertz, just like Celso said. Let's see. What do you think about the Ryzen 5 pricing? Yeah, that's going to be the toughest pill to swallow. $300 for a 6-core nowadays, when we're all pretty much used to 6 cores being $200. Obviously, there's going to be a 5600 non-X that'll likely be $250.
Yeah, that's interesting. They didn't show the non-X variants this time.
I don't think they're going to launch them before next year. That's why they didn't show them.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Might as well have a smooth launch of the ones that are going to have the most demand, and then gradually release the other ones.
Yeah. Plus, these are the higher margin parts, of course. Maybe there won't be a 30 or a 5700. Maybe they'll just keep it, 3800 non-X this time around. But, most people buy the cheaper one and then do a little tweaking and overclocking, because with AMD, you basically get the same thing. So I think they're like, well, people are going to want to gobble these up. It's the holiday season. We are now the fastest in the world. I think the reason why the non-X's aren't there, obviously, like you said, smoother launch, so this way they have enough supply, or as much as possible. But I think the real thing is, well, they're going to get those few extra bucks at everybody who can't wait till next year.
I'm also surprised they didn't say anything about the coolers. That was quite a big thing last time. They say, yeah, we include this cooler with RGB and stuff. I wonder if they're removing that.
Yeah, because they're all X SKUs, and, the ones that they got rid of them were occasionally like X SKUs, so they might not, even higher margins, because the 65 watt TDP ones, those all come with coolers because, well, they're easier to cool, so they don't have to go too crazy there. So yeah, that's a good observation. I missed that one. So we'll have to find out more about that. I hope that they do come with the Wraith Prism. It works just fine on a 95 watt TDP part, but even the 5800X 8-core, that's a 105 watt now instead of 95 watt. So that's drawing a little bit more power. I don't know.
But those little things were like, what's that expression? The icing on the cake. The fact that you get to maintain this, that it's compatible with last gen's motherboards, the fact that you get an included cooler, all of those little things, help sell the product. To see them gradually go away, it's not very nice.
It's, yeah.
But on the top SKUs, I kind of understand. On the 16-core one, sure.
Yeah, even the 12-core, you kind of expect those to be separate because the average person's not going to buy those. Most people are going to be looking at the 8 cores on down. So, but yeah, they did mention, drop-in platform compatibility with last gen. Obviously, there's some asterisks to that this time. Like I have a X470 board right now. It's going to be a while before the BIOS is updated to the point where I can use this. Obviously, this is going to be last. But if you have a B550 or an X570, just drop it in. What do you think about the gaming numbers, though? Because something ran through my head when I saw the CPU gaming numbers when they first popped that up. But I want to get your thoughts first.
It's impressive. The only one that seemed a bit strange was the Total War one, because it's only 6% on the 5900X, but it was quite a bit. I can't remember how much more on the 5950X. I'm not too familiar with that game though, because I haven't, in my reviews, I haven't included it. But the CS:GO one is very impressive. It's almost 50%, and then you've got League of Legends, which is just CPU, and that's also 50%. What else was there? Far Cry New Dawn. Can't remember exactly, but I think Intel had a lead on that.
Well, it's 22% over the 3900.
Yeah.
And let me see if I can find the other one. I'm over here on Tech Power Up. They don't have the 10900 versus numbers, I don't think.
The 2.8x efficiency. That's pretty insane over the 10900K.
That one I also believe. That one is absolutely, totally possible. So yeah, even though the 10900's close in performance at certain things, it's not even close in terms of power. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I saw those gaming numbers, part of me was like, I was really kind of confused. I was like, these look good. I was expecting, about 20% across the board. 19% IPC, little clock speed, 20%. That was kind of what I was expecting. But yeah, when you see certain things jumping up a lot more, that lets me know that certain games are very latency heavy. And obviously with the 8-core CCX, that's really helping them out in certain loads. So anywhere we're seeing greater than 20%, obviously that's purely from the CCX change, or the fact that the cache no longer needs to share, but ultimately just all latency optimizations.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. The cache, the unified cache is going to make a huge difference for gaming.
All right.
It's like 2 times reduced memory latency for gaming, they're saying here. So
yeah, and it's pretty obvious that certain games are going to take better advantage of it.
Have you found the numbers versus the 10900K?
Nope.
Trying to look them up. Can't see them.
I'm still looking. Nobody's got those ones up yet. Let me try TechSpot. See if they did one of these things. All right, let's see. Got some stuff here. Here we go. I got it. TechSpot's got them. All right, so... All right, let me save this. I'll actually put it up on the stream so everybody can see it. That's not what I want.
Not liking the look of this, though.
Yeah. There's definitely some stuff there that I didn't see. That's why I want to.
No, this has nothing to do with with the launch. I'm seeing slides, and I didn't get any slides. I wonder if I'm on AMD's naughty list now.
Uh-oh. So somebody's getting in trouble. All right, so let me add the image.
Okay, so they've got the... Yeah. So they're losing on Battlefield 5 versus their 10900K, which is weird.
All right.
And then 1% on in Total War.
Why do I have
so
the
this
NAF
is for the
logo?
12 core.
All right, come on, browse. Sorry, guys, trying to get it up here so you guys can see this as we're talking about it.
I mean, overall looks pretty good. You're getting
There we go.
a slightly faster CPU for less and with more cores. So not much complaining to do there.
Yeah, no. But yeah, it's really interesting. Like I said, you can see like the plus 19%, plus 21% on League of Legends. And those are notoriously CPU bottlenecked. So it almost makes you wonder like how much, I mean, even at 1080p, like Battlefield 5, how much of that is CPU? Because I know some of the guys, I don't know if it was Steve from Hardware Unboxed or GN, they were doing like 720p benchmarks just to see like where the bottleneck started kicking in. Yeah, it was Steve. He did it with like a 3080. And a lot of these really graphical heavy games, they're actually still CPU bound even at 1080p. Or I mean GPU bound at 1080p. So we'll have to wait and see. It's going to get interesting though. And I just think that everything kind of landed around where I expected it to be, though. So, yeah, super happy to see it. Price is going up, a little less than thrilled on that one, but overall pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, what video card? Yeah, I don't know what they used either. They didn't show it anywhere. I was trying to see it the whole time.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for the end notes, but I can't see them. Maybe they have it on the official website. Let's see.
I'm really disappointed with this ridiculous pricing of the 8-core. Yeah, it's a little higher than I would have liked. Like I said, on the 12 and 16 core, it's fine. I mean, what's $50 at that point? I was expecting to pay $300 for it, not $450. Well, see, that's the whole point. They want to get you guys buying the higher end SKUs. There will be a cheaper SKU for both the 8 and 16 or 8 and 6 cores, obviously, at some point.
Yeah, the placeholder page doesn't have the information yet on AMD's website. I wanted to read the end notes to see what GPU was used, but they don't have it there yet.
Not yet. That'll come up later. Somebody saying 2080 Ti, maybe. It's likely AMD got their hands on a 3080, so it's possible that they got one of those. But there's no way to know until they tell us. Games are going to use more cores from now on. Of course they will, but still, the consoles are 8-core, 16-thread. They're probably going to still be limited by that, I would say.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like I was saying before this stream started, I think it really depends on what resolution you're aiming for. I think if you're going for 4K, you might as well just buy a last-gen CPU, because it's going to be bottlenecked by the GPU, even with these new ones. And just put the extra money, the extra $50 towards a better monitor. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, it might even be bigger than that. The Zen 2 prices I could see falling a good bit. So 3700X, was that 300 regularly? Might get down to, 220. So 8-core for, $220, $230. That's pretty good. The 12-core, those were already below 400, so maybe they'll hit, 300-ish. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of options here. If you don't want to pay these higher prices for the higher IPC, you don't have to. There will be other options. Or, like I said, there's definitely going to be cheaper variants that come out later on. This is just to capitalize on all the hype. Number one, they did just take the performance crown overall. Intel cannot beat Zen 3 in anything anymore. At gaming, they're basically a tie at best. So this is them patting themselves on the back, which we noticed from the jump of this video. This is basically we've done well. Here's what we've done. And, you know, they've earned it, though. You know, they have overthrown a company that's 10 times their size. This is David finally killing Goliath, essentially. So
I'm also seeing here that you get a copy of Far Cry 6 when you buy one of the AMD Ryzen equipped. What? Oh, it's a game bundle. I see. On November 5th.
Like you buy a
you
CPU
buy a
and a GPU, or?
No, you buy a CPU and you get a free copy of Far Cry 6. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, you know, they're sweetening the pot a little bit. It's a little strange to do that at launch, though. Most of the time, you know, companies will do that after the CPU's been out to try to drum up sales, but I don't know. Let's see.
So November 5th. That's interesting. That's not November 7th. Maybe it's on a weekend, the 7th or something.
Oh, let me take a look. Yeah, Saturday's the 7th. 5th is a Thursday.
Yeah, probably that's why.
Would you upgrade from an 1800X? Well, I have a 2600X right now, and I will be going to either a 3900X if they're cheap enough, or I'll probably wait for a 5700 or a 5800 non-X to come out later on.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel like the 1800X is bottlenecking you in the games that you want to play, maybe, you know, upgrade. But the differences nowadays are so small that I'm not sure if it's worth the upgrade in some cases.
I don't know. Zen 2 over Zen Plus, like, you could actually feel the difference. Like, it was there. It was more responsive. So if you basically take that more responsiveness times 2, I could see going from Zen Plus to or you know, Zen 1 to Zen 3 probably would be a pretty big one. But if you have Zen 2, I don't know if it's going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Far Cry 6 with Zen 2 CPUs too. Yes. Celso found that on there. Let's see. 2700 and waiting. Coming from 6700K. Yeah, this is going to be a monstrous jump for you.
Yeah.
Let's see. They have to make money at some point. Well, they've been making money. This is definitely AMD knowing that they are now the gold standard. They're going to be in every test system out there. They can basically charge whatever they want, and there's nothing anybody can say, well, there's this other thing over here. There is nothing else over there. What Intel offers draws 2.8 times the power. They made sure to show you that. It's like, even if it gets close under these very specific conditions, you're still paying for it because of the power draw. So, yeah, they're king of the hill now, so they can kind of do whatever they want.
For 1440p max settings on an 1800X, should I upgrade? I think you'd see a boost there at 1440p. I'd have to check Steve's numbers or something like that, but I would imagine you'd see a significant boost there.
Yeah. And it also depends on like RDNA 2 or NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a little bit easier drivers-wise on the CPU than AMD. If you get an AMD graphics card, it'll actually help out even more. Let's see. Intel has billions in the bank. AMD needs to pay R&D for Zen 4 and architectures moving forward. Stop complaining. Well, yeah, Intel's going out of business, or they're getting out of the CPU business if they continue doing what they're doing. We were talking about that before. They could have $100 trillion. Doesn't matter. It just means it'll take longer for them to get out, but they're pretty much done. But as far as complaining, you know, prices, anytime prices go up, you have the right to criticize it. It makes sense for AMD to do what they did, but it also makes sense for you to not want to pay $300 for a 6-core or almost $500 for an 8-core. So both arguments are valid. So I say complaining's fine. What do you think?
I'm seeing here. Sorry, yeah, I was listening to you, but yeah, you can always complain.
Yeah, it's fine.
Apparently, the 5600X is the only one that's still bundled with a cooler.
Yeah, well, it's a 65 watt TDP, so yeah, it looks like anything over 100 watts, they're not even going to bother with it anymore.
Official memory support is DDR4 3200.
Makes sense. Obviously, you could overclock. I'm sure the IMC will be at least as good as Zen 2.
And they're saying that if they had to include the 125 watt coolers with a 105 watt processors, so that's the Ryzen 7 and 9, they would have to reduce the frequency to compensate for the cooler being the lowest common denominator. So that's their official reason for not including. The non-official reason is probably because they want higher margins.
Yeah, because those coolers probably cost them, $5 or $10. So yeah. I don't know. I like them. I'm pretty big fan of those Wraith Prisms myself.
Yeah.
The point of Moore's Law is bringing more performance at the same price. It's a shame to see the value drop for the 8th core. Well, you're going to see old 8 cores drop in price, so technically the value scale is still going up. That's why I'm saying they have the best of both worlds, because if you don't want to pay Zen 3 prices, they still have Zen 2 to sell you. And if you already have Zen 2, well, they've already got your money. So you kind of see where this is going, right? Because Intel's not an option. It just isn't. For anybody out there who's rational about this, investing in a fully Intel platform was never a smart idea. So yeah, this is going to be divisive, I think, because it is, especially on the 6 core and the 8 core, it's a pretty decent price bump for those guys.
Yeah, I don't think on the 8 core it's debatable. On the 6 core, I don't think that it's worth to pay an extra $50 for another 200 megahertz, because they're going to be bottlenecked somewhere else. I'm also reading here that apparently they're using the same 7nm enhanced process that they used for the XT. Do you remember the 3900 XT that came out a while back?
Yeah.
So
not 7N plus?
No.
Huh.
So it has a better efficiency curve and all that for the voltage.
Wow. Imagine if they used 7N plus for RDNA. They're actually going to use the more advanced process for the GPU than the CPU. That's what I was expecting, actually. And I think it makes sense. I was expecting the opposite because CPU's their bread and butter right now. All right, we got ourselves a super chat. Evo Cat Productions. Thank you for the 2-spot. IMC on the IO die is exactly the same as on Zen 2. Okay, so yeah, clock speed should be the same as far as like memory overclocking goes. But yeah, that's a pretty big revelation though. So you basically have 7NP for Zen 3, and then that frees up 7 nanometer plus for RDNA.
Someone's asking what I think about the Big Navi sneak. Let me see his name. Jax Fan 982. I thought it was pretty cool that they didn't show a lot. The GPU itself, like the cooler, looks pretty big, and it's interesting that they only showed the 3-fan one. I don't think the 2-fan one that's been circulating will make it to market. I think we're only going to see that 3-fan one.
I don't know. And they might launch 2 SKUs like Nvidia has, the top tier and then, the one below. Maybe.
But this year, I think we're only going to see the 3-fan one. And then as far as performance goes, I mean, there's not a lot to extrapolate there from only those 3 results, but it looks to be competitive with the 3080. So if we get into a situation like last time where the one that no one knows a lot about, the XTX variant, is only like 4 or 5%, that's going to be 3080. It's still going to be behind the 3090, but that's okay. That's fine as long as the price is right.
Right.
If it's matching the 3090, then that will be really exciting.
Yeah. That'll put AMD in an interesting position. Now, if they can beat the 3090, that's where things really get interesting, because then they can kind of do whatever they want again. You know, they could have their holy grail GPU and then, you know, launch their flagship being the XT model. And maybe that's in between the 3080 and the 3090. We'll know more in a few weeks, but yeah, it's at the very least they're going to be competitive at the high end. We got enough that we can say that. We still need to know more though. Beyond Ellis Beck, thank you for the 2-spot. I think Navi card was most likely the 6700 XT. I don't believe that would be the case. Otherwise, it wouldn't be beating the 3080. I don't think a 6700 XT is going to beat a 3080. If they do, that's a whole nother thing. That means NVIDIA's not even they're not even playing the same game anymore, if that's the case.
I'm not sure if it was beating the 3080. I mean, I'll have to look at those numbers a bit better, because I suspect that that's using the new processors.
Yeah.
So the 3080 is also going to be performing faster than the results that we currently have. So
maybe.
But I'm still thinking that it's going to be a bit slower than the 3080, to be honest. As if it's the 6700 XT. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about the naming scheme.
Yeah.
All
right, we got another one from Evo Caddy. I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong. Productions. All tests were done with RAM at 3600 megahertz, timings controlled, and a 2080 Ti. Okay, this both with Intel and AMD test benches. Always good to see you. Thank you. So, all right, so 2080 Ti, that kind of makes sense for them to use that. Obviously, they've had it for a while. But even still, I mean, it should scale just as well with the 3080 and RDNA 2, so.
Yeah.
All right, so, well, all AMD builds for everyone this Christmas. For most people, yes, I would say so. Even if you go with Zen 2 on the cheap, that's a good way to go.
Yep.
She said it was the 6900. I don't remember her saying that myself, but I could have missed it. Did you hear her say that?
When? During the CPU?
Yeah, the GPU.
Oh, maybe she did. I didn't catch that if she said that. That would make a lot of sense, though.
Alrighty. So, okay. They said that they did show 2080 Ti in the disclaimer at like a certain timestamp. Okay. Well, thank you guys for finding that at the very least now. I don't have to go hunting that down. Let's see. You also have to remember the immense power draw of the 3080 and 3090, costing even more in terms of power supply and power costs. Yeah, that's going to be the big win for AMD. They're definitely going to win on performance per watt on the GPU this time. I don't think do you have any doubt on that yourself?
Sorry, what were you asking?
Performance per watt. I'm pretty sure AMD's got that one in the bag compared to the 3080 and 3090. Even if they're not quite as fast or whatever, but they'll still win on that front.
I would imagine so, especially if it's 7N plus. It depends on, what they're going to do about the clocks.
Right. Well, we'll see, but I'm pretty confident that they're going to win on that one. All right, let's see. Evocaddy Productions, thank you again for another 5-spot. All the info I'm feeding you is directly from the footnotes of the AMD PowerPoint. Will be better. It will be better than the 3080, especially at 4K. Maybe. I actually think it'll be better at lower resolutions. We saw Steve did a really good video at Hardware Unboxed where he tested the different resolutions and noticed that obviously 4K, the 3080 does the best, and then has some serious drop off even compared to the 2080 Ti at lower resolutions. RDNA 1 did best at 1080p. So I'm thinking that with RDNA 2, I think the scaling might actually be better. So at 1080p and 1440p, I do think RDNA 2 is actually going to have an even bigger advantage than it will at 4K. But that's just my guess.
Yeah, I'm seeing the footnotes now as well. They're on the AMD's website.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see. 5950X. I don't know why they're showing such lightly threaded applications on that one. I'm actually glad that they didn't hold back, though, on the 5950, because we all knew that there's going to be a 16-core. If they tried to do what they did last time and just launch the 3900X and then later come out with the 16-core, I don't think that would have worked this time. So I'm glad that they finally did that.
Yeah, and the fact that they're doing it on the same process node that they were using for the XT means that they actually have processors now that they can launch. I think that was the problem last time. They didn't have enough processors to launch the 3950X.
Yeah, just not enough die. Yeah. Plus, they were sending all the really good Rome chips, which had the best chiplets. So nowadays, I don't think they'll have that much of a problem with it.
Can you imagine if we actually get a product launch with products? That would be a new thing.
I don't know. NVIDIA might need to take notes on that, This is what you do. When you launch something, you actually have it out there. That would be nuts. Even though I think scalpers are going to go for them, if they flood the market with enough volume, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
See, I got one here. Any thoughts on why AMD showed such a slow RX 6000 card without any extra info? Well, I wouldn't say it's slow. Like I said, it was a little bit worse in Borderlands and faster in Gears 5 than a 3080, which is pretty good. People are already writing off RDNA 2 because of it. I don't know how you're writing that off, but okay. I don't see any marketing advantage. Well, they teased it. They teased something, and what they shouldn't have shown any numbers. I think that was their first mistake, but they're obviously very confident in the GPU, and like I said, the numbers that they shown are pretty good, and I also doubt that's the best card that they have.
So there are a few things that I would say that. Firstly, like I said a couple of times already, I think that's on the new CPUs, which means I don't think it's beating the 3080. When I said it's competitive, it doesn't mean that it beats it. It means that it's pretty close there. You might not be able to tell the difference. So if it's much cheaper, then you might as well get that one. Secondly, Lisa Su did say our team is working hard to finalize things. So from that, you can infer that, obviously these are not the final numbers, and we know AMD's history with drivers. Secondly, you could also make the opposite argument and say that she was trying to make excuses for a bit of a lackluster showing. I kind of agree that this is not the top SKU, but I think AMD has a tendency to bring out their best numbers for these types of products.
Yeah, usually.
So I would, as a cautionary note, I would say don't expect something much better than what they've shown right now. I think this is what you should be looking at, because people always say, they're just sandbagging, and then we're going to see another 20% on top of that. If we get another 5% on top of those numbers, I think that's pretty acceptable. I wouldn't expect anything more than that, to be honest.
I honestly, excuse me. Obviously, I'm going to do a deeper dive and look into what it is. We didn't get a lot there, but I have to listen to what Lisa said, and I'll pick apart exactly what she said. But yeah, overall, the numbers that they showed were good. Like I said, we're looking 3080-ish numbers within the ballpark, give or take 10%. I think that's fine for a teaser, but we don't know anything yet. This could be the third from the top SKU. We really don't know, so we'll just have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, it depends on the price. If that exact GPU they showed costs $500, that's pretty good.
Yeah, because then you're looking at probably plus 20% over 2080 Ti on average across a wide range of games. Yeah. So, yeah, can't really argue there. All right. Evo Caddy Productions, once again, thank you for the 2 spot. Let's see. No new Mobos until Zen 3 Plus. This is inside the info. Okay, well, that's pretty cool. I kind of figured that they would launch at least a 670X because the 570 chipset was just hobbled together so quickly and draws so much extra power. That's why B550 took so long, because it's much more power efficient. So I figured they'd take advantage of that and refresh, but according to what they have in there, I'll have to look at it, but maybe not. Old newbie saying Borderlands with the 3080s coming in at 59 FPS and AMD 6000 at 61. Well, like I said, the benchmark that I found has the 3080 at 70. So it also depends on where you're benchmarking and stuff like that. So until there's a direct comparison by a reviewer, there's really no way to know for sure. But, you know, just to get some ballpark ideas, that's why I looked up some numbers. Totally bet AMD is sandbagging the 6000 series performance. I doubt it. I don't think it's the top SKU, but I'm pretty sure, like Celso said, it's pretty damn close to what it's going to be.
Yeah, and I don't think AMD would show you those numbers if they knew you could extrapolate the final performance out of them.
Yeah, I just think it was there to show like a ballpark number, just so people will be like, oh, it can do 4K. I think that's really what it is, because every number that they showed was over 60 FPS, max settings at 4K. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which you can't really argue about that. That's pretty good. We've been wanting a 4K card from AMD for years. A lot of you guys have always said, I just want a 4K card from AMD. So they showed you that that is now a thing. Watching this event made me want to buy a console. Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie. The consoles are amazing value right now. For a lot of people, I think that's going to be fine, especially if Microsoft allows like keyboard and mouse on most games. That might be a pretty decent way to go for a lot of people. What do you think on that? Are you picking up any of these consoles? You interested at all, Celso?
Yeah, I want to buy them both just for the exclusives. Haven't had consoles in ages, but I like the extra features they have. I want to get into Blu-rays as well, and it's a pain to get Blu-ray working on PCs. So just having something that just works is kind of nice to just plug into the TV. I'm not sure. I don't like the fact that games are going up. They're going to sell them for like 70 euros now, which is crazy. So I don't know. And if all the exclusives are coming to PC anyway, I don't think you should buy a console thinking it's a better deal than the PC. I'm not sure about that overall. But if you already have a good PC and you want to have, get access to the exclusives and the extra features, I think they're definitely good value.
Yeah, for me, consoles, they make a lot of sense in the aspect if you just want the ease of use. If you just want to put the disc in or download the game and just play it. No setting up, no tweaking. If you don't like screwing around with all that stuff, then yeah, consoles are definitely the way to go. They're better for media. Like I have Xbox Ones all over the house because of the Blu-ray feature, like you just mentioned. It's just much easier. You can get remotes a lot easier. It's just easier setup there. But when it comes to gaming, if you have a gaming PC, even the PlayStation 5 for its like 3 exclusives that it's going to have that matter, it's not worth buying unless you want to buy it like after the generation. I've said that for years now. So yeah, if you have a gaming PC and you're going to stick with a gaming PC, consoles make no sense. But if you just want to not deal with all the PC stuff, I could see it making sense.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends who only play on consoles. They're not like PC enthusiasts. They're not even into tech, but they get together and play on consoles, and I can't play with them because I don't have a console.
Yeah.
And they play like, Rainbow Six Siege with a controller and stuff. And I probably think that's probably a nightmare for what we're used to. But the fact that depending on what your friends are into, it might be worth getting a console just for that, just to spend some time with your buddies doing something.
Yeah, ultimately, that's why I ended up buying the Xbox instead of the PlayStation initially. Joe, he's like, no, I'm getting an Xbox. So I had to spend an extra $100 on an inferior piece of technology. But at the same time, we spent a lot of time playing like Destiny and stuff, and it was totally worth it long run. My PC is a do-it-all machine. They absolutely can. And if you set them up right, and you can make PCs do everything, which is great. But for some people, they just don't want to screw with it, which also makes sense.
I'm hoping someone will do the same that they did for the original Xbox and get like like what was it, the media center working on it. Maybe they can get Windows to work on. Yeah, maybe they can get Windows to work on these consoles. That would be insane. You'd get a really cheap PC.
Yeah.
Or Linux or something.
That'd be pretty cool. I was gonna say, like, I use Plex on mine, and it does everything that I need. So I mean, they have apps on the consoles that can do all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Gears 5 4K max settings on Series X is 60 FPS. Yeah, I mean, but that's also with some optimizations. Let's see.
Windows ME, yeah.
Yeah, that I skipped that one entirely. 98 to XP, nothing in between. VRAM on 3080 is not enough for me either. Well, there will be a 20 gig variant. It will happen. People are already forgetting 10 gigabytes versus 16. That's because it doesn't matter. The RAM does not matter at all. It doesn't. Not the amount. If they can both run the same games at the same resolutions with the same settings, who cares how much RAM it has?
But you know how it is. People are always drawn to the bigger number.
Well, yeah. I've said this before. That's why they made like 4 gigabyte GT 710s. NVIDIA did. You know, it's because somebody will go, ooh, it's a 4 gigabyte card, even though it's the worst thing that ever been produced ever. So, question: why did AMD pull the 33X from the market? They didn't. They just can't make enough of them, and they just don't have enough defects to sell them. Honestly, that's what it was. So they still ship the ones that they had, I think, but they just couldn't supply it.
Yeah, I have one here, which I'm not using for anything actually at the moment.
Sell it on eBay. People are paying like $200 for those. It's crazy.
I can't sell the stuff they send me.
Oh, that's all right. Just scratch off the serial number. You'll be fine. Let's see. 9900K versus 5900X for 4K. Well, they're going to perform the same at 4K. I have a 5K monitor as well, so I need more VRAM. For what? I mean, you need it for the applications. A 1 gigabyte card can drive a 5K monitor if all you do is just basic stuff.
No, I don't smoke. Someone's asking if I smoke. I don't smoke. Never have.
There you go. RAM matters in high textures in Doom. Not if you can run high textures on 10 gigabytes. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, what Chris is saying is like, it's not a problem for you to worry about if it works. You know, it's a problem for the developers to figure out and the hardware designers to figure out. If it works, it works. You don't really need to worry about. At this point, it's too early to say if the 10 gigs will indeed be a limitation. I suspect in a year's time, they probably will. I wouldn't buy a 10 gigabyte card for $700 right now. If I'm spending $700, they better give me, really good value. And that means, more RAM than I need. If I'm buying a $500 card, that's a different story. So at the end of the day, it really depends on what you need right now, and does it do what you need it to do.
Yeah, and since nobody can predict the future, I mean, also, unless you're running 4K, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between ultra textures and high textures anymore. You can't see the difference because the resolution of your monitor isn't high enough to even tell the difference. So running ultra settings, unless you're running like 4K or beyond, you don't need any of that anymore. Even 1440p. 1440p is low resolution gaming now. Basically, think 1440p is 720 and 1080p gaming is basically non-existent. I mean, for these cards that are at this level anymore. So even though people still use the lower resolution monitors and always will because you can use cheaper cards for it, but texture settings and all this other stuff, you don't need any of that stuff anymore unless you're running tippity top of the line.
I mean, this is we could go on and on about this, and I think that as reviewers, this is something I've been thinking about. We need to rethink how we review these products because it's getting to the point where they're so close that it's hard to justify the price differences. For instance, you can definitely tell the difference between 40 FPS and 55 FPS.
Right.
But you're not going to be able to tell the difference between 116 FPS and 122 FPS. It's so close, and you're getting to such low milliseconds that you just can't tell the difference. And the argument you were making about visual quality is kind of in the same discussion, which is, can you tell the difference between high and ultra? At what distance are you sitting from your 4K monitor to the point where it actually makes a difference? There's a whole slew of things which are very subjective that we need to think about and start including in reviews, because the products are getting so close in performance that I'm not sure if it's really worth spending the extra money every generation, if you know what I mean.
Right. No, I mean, I agree. Like, if you have a 2080 Ti, none of these cards from NVIDIA make any sense. They just don't. Your performance increase just isn't high enough. But then there are those people that, like you said, it's subjective. They run, like the Microsoft Flight Simulator, and that's like the main thing they want to do. For those people, it might be worth it. So there are personal trade-offs that you have to make. And the reason why reviewers can't do the subjective reviews is because then everybody's reviews are going to be different, and they don't line up. So
that's true. But for instance, I do agree. People are going to hate me for saying this, but I do, especially at an AMD launch stream, but I do think that the features that NVIDIA showed for the new RTX GPUs make a lot of sense, and they might be worth it to buy that GPU just because of those features, even if the performance really is not that impressive.
Right.
Things like HDMI 2.1 and the AI stuff and all of that. I think reviews will need to start going into that. The problem is, how do you define, what's value?
What's good? What's useful? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you could say every feature is useful, but then every time you review an AMD card, you need to talk about Radeon Chill and how that's useful under certain circumstances. So, yeah, it's going to get more difficult because you almost have to watch the performance reviews, then the feature reviews, and they almost need to be separate. And then you kind of have to, and this is from like the same reviewer, and then you have to make up your own minds again, because that's kind of the world we're getting into. This question right here is really one of those things that just shows how powerful marketing is. 4K is not the new standard, especially for competitive FPS games. First off, if you do not get paid to play the game, you are not a competitive player. I'm just going to be honest with you. Unless you get paid to do it, you are not a competitor. You are just a gamer. You're just like everybody else. So there's no need in spending money on quote-unquote competitive gear unless you profit from it. Or if you want it and you have the money, that's fine too. But what I'm saying here is yes, 4K is going to be the next standard. 1440p is never going to be a standard. I know in this crowd that's going to be like sacrilege. But it's 1080p, and then we're going to 4K. And there's nothing in between that's really relevant. That's always been the way things have been going. This is the reason why people have been waiting for 4K 120 for so long, because everybody with a 1080p high refresh monitor knows that that's the next step. And we're getting there. This generation is the first generation that actually makes sense for 4K and high refresh. So yes, that's where things are going. If you want to run games at 500, 360 FPS on a 1080p monitor, you have that option if you want to. These new Ryzen CPUs are going to kill it for that. These are absolutely what you're going to want. But that's a small niche of the market. And like I said, if you're not getting paid to do it, why would you invest money in it? Just play the game on something else. And if you're good enough at the game, it doesn't really matter what your hardware is, honestly. Sorry, that was just kind of a rant because that one always gets me. Oh, competitive games. If you're not getting paid, you're not a competitor. You're just a player.
Well, but you want to impress your friends with your mad skills.
Well, if you want to impress your friends with mad skills, and I told this to Coreteks before, use like a 720p laptop and then beat everybody. Give yourself all of the disadvantages in the world and still smoke everybody. If you're good enough, doesn't matter what your gear is, you're still better than everybody else. Let's see. The Vertical Dave, thank you for the 2-spot. Your thoughts on RDNA 40CU Little Navi versus 5700 XT? So, like, how much better is RDNA 2 over RDNA 1? I can't really say. Do you have any insight into that one?
I think you'll see better performance and it will cost less. So, not much to complain about that. The 5700 XT, I mean, AMD will never make this public, but there's a hardware bug on those GPUs. There's a reason why it's so unstable, and they fix one thing and then another thing breaks. It's just a very unstable GPU. Some people are lucky and it works fine forever, but a lot of people have problems with it even today. So if the new 40CU card is not just a rebadge and it's actually new silicon, which I believe will be, and it costs quite a bit less, then yeah, sure, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was going to say. I mean, it's going to be better. It's going to be cheaper. And I mean, I guess you could basically say it's going to match the PS5. So whatever PS5 games can run on it, relatively the same settings as PS5. You don't really have to worry this generation, as long as, you know, they have like a 16 gig version. You don't have to worry about VRAM running out, because we know consoles can use more than start creeping into the system memory. So you always want more memory, or as much memory as a console on your GPU, if you want to last a whole generation. So yeah, I don't...
Someone was...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was pretty much done.
Someone was disagreeing with my comment on features, but you have to think about it this way. I mean, first of all, sure, you can have a different opinion.
Right.
You have to think that products are all really good, but we're not seeing things that are like super exciting. You know, everything's becoming a little bit boring on the hardware side.
Except for the features. They are pretty cool.
Yeah, except for the features, exactly. And you see all this talk about AI and whatnot, and I want to see that materialize into things that we can actually use and make it into games, both from NVIDIA and AMD. So that comment wasn't specifically about NVIDIA, by the way. It's about all of the companies. I'm sure AMD is going to have a bunch of new features for the launch of the new GPUs. Hopefully one of the features is working drivers. That would be my favorite feature.
Well, they'd be ahead of NVIDIA on that one too if they got that this time. So, but yeah, working drivers, I'd say that's key number one. But yeah, no, I'm sure that they're going to have something. They do have to compete with DLSS. Realistically, even ray tracing, which we know that they do have, but that's a feature I don't think that matters as much right now. Because the AI stuff, like the DLSS, is really the big thing that everybody cares about on the NVIDIA side, because they can see what that'll do. That'll make even mid-range cards into 4K gaming cards, and like the 3080 into a high refresh 4K card, ultra everything, without breaking a sweat. So AMD definitely needs to compete with that feature, because if they don't, that's a huge disadvantage. But you know, the other AI stuff, that's very subjective. Like Celso, when we did the other stream for Ampere, the machinima stuff is very beneficial to him. So that means buying even a worse NVIDIA card at maybe a slightly higher price premium might make sense for him. But if AMD has, let's say, something similar and possibly even better than that, or other features that are even more beneficial, then for him, AMD, even if they're slower and cost more, actually makes more sense. You see what we're trying to say? That cost to benefit analysis is not directly tied to frame rate anymore. I guess that's the best way to phrase it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I agree. Something as simple as like the sharpening filter. I really like that, both on AMD and NVIDIA.
Mm-hmm. And if AMD didn't do it, NVIDIA wouldn't either.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so Eddie B's been trying to get this one across. He says he's getting a 3100X plus a 1660 Super and 16 gigs of RAM for a friend. He's using a 4th gen i3, 1050 Ti, and 8 gigs of RAM. Is that a good combo? Yeah, I mean, that's going to be fine. The 3100X, that's 4-core, 8-thread, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, that's going to play all current gen games just fine. So, yeah, that should be all right. I mean, he could always upgrade the CPU later on. Wow, such a discussion from a simple question. I guess they're talking about the feature question. It's a lot more complicated than you would think because, you know, it's not just about frame rate anymore when it comes to graphics. CPU side's pretty easy. You know, which one's faster, which one costs the least amount. So it's pretty easy right now because CPUs just do what CPUs do, but GPUs are now doing things that they never have before. And not for the consumer side anyway. So it is a really interesting way to look at it. I guess 1440p 144 will still be the best overall gaming monitor spec for now. Yeah, for now, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it really depends on what you're doing. If it works for you, don't switch it.
Yeah, it's another very subjective thing. It depends on what games you're playing. Like, I have a bunch of different monitors here, and if I'm playing Civ 6, I actually play on a 4K 60 hertz monitor. If I'm playing sort of like Horizon Zero Dawn, I played that on the 4K C9 TV. And if I'm playing a competitive shooter, I'll go to a 1080p monitor. So it really depends on what you're doing. Ideally, you'd have the option to have all of these different monitors. Not everyone gets to have that. So there's no perfect solution. You really need to look at what games you're playing and what makes sense there.
Yeah, see, that's the problem with subjectivity is... you know, all options are correct under circumstance X for user Y. And, yeah, so, like, for me, I can't see the difference between 1440p and 1080p. You give me a 27-inch display, you know, both the same make, model, all the same stuff. I literally can't see the difference. The resolution jump just isn't high enough to matter to me at all. So, for me, I'm not going to invest in a 1440p display. Looking at the trends, that's basically what we have to do is see what other people, the majority of other people are doing. And most people are still happy with 1080p, obviously, due to the fact that most people are still gaming on 1080p and lower. And then, you know, eventually, like, I believe that 4K will eventually take over. It's still going to take a while, but I could be wrong and they could just keep making money on 1080p displays forever. I mean, if they wanted to. So it's, yeah, all the subjective stuff on that one.
Do you think ultra-wide monitors currently fill the same role for gaming that playing across multiple monitors does? This is from the Green Dude 439. I'm not a fan of ultra-wide personally, but that's a very personal thing. I know a lot of people that love ultra-wide. I don't know why, but I like having the extra space at the top of the monitor. But that's really just a personal thing. As far as resolution goes, I'm not sure how that would change the argument either way. It's just a different format, really.
Yeah, I agree. It's personal, you know, preference there. But yeah, basically back in the day when you had the 3 monitor setup, yeah, I think most people have just decided to go with the single ultra wide instead. So yeah, I agree that's probably its best function. For gaming, obviously for productivity, most people with 3 monitors still have 3 monitors because that's more beneficial for them. All right, let's see. Can you put a Zen 3 on a B450MH, or is it not possible? It will be, but you're going to be last in line. The updates for the B450 and X470 boards are going to be the last thing updated. So I wouldn't even expect that being possible by the end of this year myself.
I think the ETA on that is January.
That would make a lot of sense. They want to get the 500 series boards up to date as quickly as possible. All righty, guys. Let's see how long we've been running. We've been running for about 2 hours here, guys. So let's do a few more questions, and I think we'll call it a day until Saturday's live stream. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, I live stream every Saturday, and we get to do this some more. Celso will not be with me, so we will be taking the questions mostly for Celso here while we got him live.
Let's see.
I'll let you pick them out.
3700 XA core versus 5600 6-core more cache. I'd go with the 3700X 8-core over a 6-core.
It really depends.
Personally, I think.
Really depends.
Personally, I think I'd go that because if you're only gaming, maybe the 6-core is better because you're getting the higher IPC and the faster clocks. But I think in the long run, you'd rather have the extra 2 cores.
I agree. I agree. Long term, that's probably better.
Are you expecting XT variants of the Ryzen 5000? So that's the XT variants of the Ryzen 5000.
Basically, the refresh. I don't know, maybe.
Probably in a year's time when they need to empty stocks again. Let's see.
How do you think Zen 3 latency will compare to Zen 2? I think it's going to be a huge difference.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be pretty huge. As far as how noticeable, probably in some things a lot. In gaming, especially, and probably music production, I think you'd see a difference there. What else? What if AMD open sources the DLSS solution like they did with FreeSync? Yeah, that tends to be their history. That's what they tend to do. Thoughts on 50% on the extra $50 on the products? Yeah, I think it makes sense on the higher end ones, like we said earlier, but not on the lower end stuff like the 6-core. I don't think it's worth paying $50 extra when you're not going to really see a huge difference.
Yeah, it really makes it tough because you're going from Ryzen 5 to Ryzen 7 level of price at that point.
Exactly. I think you might as well buy, like someone was asking earlier, I think you might as well go with the 8-core at that stage. Especially like the 3900X and 3800X will probably come down to the point where they cost maybe an extra $20 than what you're paying for a 6-core of the brand new generation. So I'm not convinced on the 5600 prices. The other ones I think are okay.
Yeah, I think they'll fly. The 8-core one might ruffle a few feathers, but once again, they will drop cheaper variants next year. So anybody who's ruffled will be like, oh, okay, there's the price that I want to pay. So yeah, it's just to give them the time to clear out old Zen 2 inventory, make higher prices now, and then next year look like the hero. It's called good marketing. You guys hear me rip on AMD about marketing all the time. This is actually smart marketing, except for on the 6-core, which I can agree that's putting it a little bit too far. I do want to answer this one. I think this one's for me. What game did you get stumped in so badly to develop you're not competitive? You misquoted me there. You said can't be competitive unless you get paid. You're not competitive unless you're getting paid. Philosophy. Well, actually, it's the opposite. I actually stomped people so bad in Unreal Tournament 2003. I was in top 20 in the world, and I was using the junkiest of junk on purpose. Like, I literally had to handicap myself so other people could compete with me. Like, it just wasn't fun playing with other people because they were so bad and I was so good at it. So, yeah, that's my point. If you're not that good at a game to where you want other people to be more competitive, then you're not competing. You're just having fun. You're playing a video game. You are not a competitor. So that's the difference. I know what it's like to be in that top like 0.1% in something that, it's actually just not that much fun to play with regular people.
Someone asked, when are we going to see reviews? I don't know, and after this stream, I'm going to talk to the AMD rep because I don't know why I'm not on that stuff right now. Why they haven't spoken to me about that. Then someone asked, why did I stop designing? Well, because I started doing YouTube.
Yeah.
What else?
Celso takes a long time on his videos, guys. Like, I'll be talking to him and be like, I'm doing research on this thing. And then, like, talk to him like a week later. Yep, still doing research on this thing. Or I'm doing the audio for it. And, yeah. Like, I'll bang out a video in a day, and yeah, he takes a long time on his videos. That's why they come out so much better and better produced than mine. GOG stop stomping scrubs all day long. Well, that's why I don't play competitively anymore. It actually became, it's just not fun anymore. Was it Halo 3 was like that, and then Doom 2016 was the last game that I kind of got into, and then it became the same way. It'd be me and a bunch of randos against the top clan in the game, and I was still wrecking these guys. I have no support from the rest of the team, and I'm still able to do it. So, yeah, it's just not that much fun playing with regular people in competitive shooters for me.
Okay, cool. So there are a few more questions like regarding HBM and stuff, but we'll leave those to
save that for the RDNA.
Reveals. Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that'll do it. I want to thank everybody for joining. If you guys aren't already, please subscribe to Celso's channel over there at Coreteks. Like I said, he pours a lot of time and effort and energy into those videos, and he does a great job over there. And then, of course, if you are not subscribed to this channel, please do so. We will also be doing the RDNA 2 reveal, which will be coming out on October 28th. And we will also be doing that one live, as well as I will be doing a live stream on Saturday to talk about all this Zen 3 awesomeness that we got here today. And I'm going to try to dissect the RDNA 2 information as much as I possibly can, because why not? That was really interesting. Obviously, it was just a teaser, but I know you guys are excited about all that stuff. So that's what we're going to be doing moving forward. Celso, you got anything you want to plug here?
No, just thank everyone for joining us. It was fun.
All righty, guys. Thank you so much. You guys have yourselves a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.